faces Brock. Oh, the Divas.
It didn't work the first time, so let's try it again.
Not only let's try it again, on Miz TV. You know what's funny about this whole Miz TV thing? Dave loved the part where Miz got his microphone thrown away.
That was good.
That's fine.
No.
I didn't love
Perhaps
it.
you guys forget the first segment, which was terrible, and the only redeeming quality about it was the Miz. So they took a horrible segment, and they thought, what was the one good thing about this segment? Miz being a decent host? Okay, let's throw his mic away. Then we've thrown away everything good about that segment. Which was nothing.
Well, this was nothing. His guests were Charlotte and Becky. They wanted Paige to come out to either fight or to talk. Miz was pissed they were inviting guests onto his show, but they chucked his mic away and called out Paige.
Yeah, Charlotte wants Paige to come out. Like, that didn't happen on SmackDown in a segment that led to nothing.
Bellas and Alicia came out instead. They said they were a unified team while Team PCB was acting like high schoolers. They rambled on and they jibber-jabbered. Charlotte screamed about how this is all about the fans or something, and they were about to fight when Paige came out.
She was cutting a passionate, heart-filled promo about the Divas Revolution. Can you imagine?
That's no wonder I didn't believe her.
Can you imagine? It's one thing if she wanted to cut like a passionate promo about how she had won her first WWE championship and she'd made her father proud.
Yes.
And he was proud of her. No, she cut a passionate promo about the Divas Revolution. It was comedy. It was like a comedy. It was like a Seth Rollins comedy segment when she's cutting this passionate promo about the Divas Revolution.
Did you throw up in your mouth when Becky said, "Come on down for your last kicking"?
I'll tell you why I didn't.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I didn't. If you watch, Becky, even she seemed appalled to have said the line. Did you notice that?
I did not
Like,
know.
she kind of said it, but she kind of said it a little quietly, like, oh, I know this line sucks. That's why I didn't throw up in my mouth, because at least she knows.
So Paige came out. She began to badmouth everyone. She buried Charlotte. She buried Becky. And then she buried the Bellas, saying you're only here because of who your boyfriends are. And a brawl broke out.
And then
PCB cleared the ring. Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. And I thought, you know what? I watched you break up 1 week ago. I watched you all hate each other on SmackDown.
That's right.
I watched you all hate each other a minute ago. Then they were standing side by side. And when they went to commercial and they came back, they were a team in a match.
oh yeah,
Fuck this.
this was bad.
This made me pissed off. This is one of those moments where if you actually, the dwindling number of people who stick around to watch this horrible television program, those loyal people are punished for watching and paying attention because the storyline gets fucked up right in their face. Why were they teaming?
Well, you see, Vinny, they shot the angle where Paige turned on her friends. And I know that people said, Bryan, this makes no sense. Why did Paige turn on her friends? So maybe they felt the same way and they decided, well, let's shoot the angle next week.
What?
Yeah. So they put them together.
You just made that up.
And then they shot the angle for why Paige
I don't
was
have a
mad
better
at Charlotte.
explanation. I can't say he's wrong.
Bryan, you're
Yeah.
telling stories.
No, if you watch this and you pretend in your mind that you reverse weeks, so they have a tag match, and Charlotte bonks into Paige and knocks her off the apron, and Paige thinks Charlotte did it on purpose and walks out on her. And then the next week, Paige comes out and cuts a promo on her and quits the team. It fucking makes sense if you do it in reverse.
It's certainly better.
Right?
Well, that would have made sense, but it's not what they did. So they're doing this match, and Paige, Charlotte, and Becky are a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
They're working together great. No signs of discord. And then Charlotte gets kicked into Paige. Paige falls off the apron, and she walks out. And of course she did. We've already established she hates them. As she is walking out, Natty comes out, passes her by. She jumps in the apron, but Paige yanks her down as well.
You're forgetting a key.
right.
When Natty comes out, she's yelling at Paige, why are you walking out on your friends? Were you not there Friday in the segment where they were all bitching at each other and a brawl broke out and you got involved? Can you not see with your own eyes why they don't get along?
They're not friends. They're very much not friends.
Again, if this would have happened last week before they broke up, it would make sense. But they did it backwards.
They didn't. So Paige yanks Natalya off the apron, at which point Becky walks up to Paige and doesn't hit her or kick her. Becky asks, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, well, I don't get it. Why are you mad,
want Paige to
Paige?
say, "What's wrong with me is I don't like you. I don't like her. And I told you this to your face 10 minutes ago." Nikki pinned Charlotte with a rack attack.
Which, by the way, Charlotte is looking out of the ring distracted by what's going on with Becky and everybody. And Nikki sneaks up behind her to put her in the rack attack. And it takes her forever to get her up. And Charlotte doesn't spin around because someone has snuck up behind her. No, she keeps looking away from Nikki. She puts her arms out. Her eyes grow wide. She begins to shake her hands as she waits and waits and waits. And oh, now I'm upside down. Could anything have not... I mean, everything went wrong here. Everything.
Well, it did, but it was by design. I mean, this was like we said about the Retro Raw, a horrible idea on paper that was worse in execution. In this case, the idea on paper to me offends me more.
Dude, the whole show on paper is offensive. That someone said, hey, you know what? We've had record low ratings. I have got an idea. Let's put this lineup on television. And you know what's funny? Some fell on the board after he listened to Observer Radio last night, was critical of the show, saying, Bryan was in one of his hypercritical moods. I'm like, oh yeah? So what about every other fucker that stopped watching the show in the middle of it to lead it to the lowest third-hour rating in the history of 3 hours of Raw? Maybe they're all hypercritical too. Or the show fucking sucked.
By the way, when did it become okay that when one of your tag partners walks out, somebody can just replace her immediately?
I've seen that a million times.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been a while, but yes, it has happened a million times.
I'm sure
it doesn't make any sense, but it's wrestling.
I'm sure you can find 1,000 old school angles that happened. That's not a new thing.
Usually it leads to a horseman beatdown.
They may not have filed the proper paperwork, Craig. You're probably right. But
it was an unsanctioned switch.
There may be some
And
contractual...
hey, you know what? The ref never allowed it.
Technically, she never did anything anyway.
Exactly. She came down with an intention. That doesn't mean it's allowed.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah. That segment sucked.
It really did. It really did.
Just for the record.
We had a Brock Big Show video package.
They're trying.
They actually, for most of this, they were doing a hell of a job. They showed Show beating Brock for the championship in 2002, and they edited it to make it look like a complete and total squash. Showed Show killing everyone for a decade. And they showed Brock killing people, and the only time they showed Brock and Show together, except for that 2002 championship match, was the spot where they broke the ring, which was really cool. And they were telling you, the fans, if you stick around and watch the show on the network, maybe you'll see the ring break again.
You may also get a fuck finish.
Sure. Well, I hadn't thought of it that way.
It would at least be a cool fuck finish, unlike all of them on this show.
People love that spot. People were so happy with that fuck finish.
I still have people to this day that ask me if that was a shoot.
I brought it up last week, actually.
Did you?
Not if it was a shoot, but I brought up the spot.
No, I mean, people will actually ask me, did the ring really break? I mean, it really broke, but they're saying, was that planned?
It just the ring happened to collapse with exactly a minute to go on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nuts.
They had 30 more seconds, but the ring broke.
Yeah. So the key to this is, aside from that Superflex spot, they did not show Brock suplexing or F5ing Big Show one time.
That's good.
So for fans who were not around a decade ago, when he pulled that stuff off in New York, it's going to blow them away. I thought this was great.
It was very good.
Seth was talking with Ashley from Human Resources when Kane arrived with a giant gift. He talked about all of Seth's accomplishments and being proud to be part of all that. And he gives Seth the gift. And you ever have a time in wrestling, or really anything, but you can see where the joke is going, and you're thinking the same joke in your head, and then they do the joke, and it's still funny?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of those. When Kane hands this enormous package to Seth, and Seth goes all Brad Pitt and Seven. What's in the box, Kane? Kane, what's in the box? And he opens it, and it is in fact a severed head. It was the head from a statue. And as I wrote that down, Kane explained, it's a severed head
It's your severed head.
from your statue.
Gleefully, you said this.
Yes.
This wasn't even Kane's best line. Kane explains that he went and spent all night digging it up.
With a shovel and a flashlight.
And he cheerfully says, it's amazing what one man can do with a shovel and a flashlight.
Yes.
I was like, this is great.
Ashley from Human Resources said this was considerate. Seth was weirded out and he left. Primetime players versus Luke Harper and Braun Strowman.
Let me remind you, Vinny, of the SmackDown that we reviewed, where Team 3D and The New Day were having a meeting backstage.
Yes.
And the primetime players came up and they said, you know what? Dudley's, after you win those titles, we're going to be next in line.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep that in mind as we review this segment.
Well, it was a squash, and not for the primetime players. It starts off with Harper and Darren Young, and Braun Strowman is standing in the apron in his sheet mask, just being big and scary. And then Harper throws Young on the floor, and they cut to Strowman. He does a big dramatic reveal taking off the sheet mask. Always a mistake. So much scarier with the mask on. Then he beats up Darren at ringside for 3 minutes. Meanwhile, Titus is on the apron hanging onto that tag rope. I have to let him destroy my partner out there. I can't go help him. They get back in the ring. The beating continues. And nobody cares except exactly one guy screaming, boring! Titus made a hot tag, literally begging the fans to get to their feet.
Literally. He stood up and he said, let's go, Baltimore, or wherever they were.
Get up.
They were in New York.
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
B word.
That's in New York.
It is. That's true. So Titus distracted himself going after Strowman, and Harper killed Titus with a super kick.
Excuse me? He distracted himself.
Yes.
Does it mean Strowman distracted him?
No, Strowman wasn't doing anything. He was standing in the apron when Titus turned around to do something. Strowman wasn't doing anything. He wasn't teasing interference. He wasn't pointing. He wasn't shouting. He was standing there in his corner, minding his business. So Strowman then tried to yank Darren out of the ring. This sounds really simple, but for some reason it was really complicated. It ended up with Strowman having Darren in a headlock as Darren's halfway leaning on the ropes.
Are you telling me this was a bad match?
It was very bad.
Just making sure I got that.
This was Strowman finally finishes Titus off with a standing choke, and I wrote, what a lousy match. And and then I wrote, and probably wrong, actually, but then I wrote, the primetime players are still going to get their title match after this.
Actually, I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah, probably not.
It's more likely Dean Ambrose will get his championship match than these guys.
Frankly, at this point, either way, it's a bad idea. If they get the title match, it's bad because they've killed them so badly. If they don't get it, it's bad because they did that tease on SmackDown for nothing.
Jericho on his podcast this week talked a little bit about his involvement at Night of Champions. And he basically said that Braun Strowman was a nice guy. He's very green, but he's willing to listen and learn.
He's had 9 matches.
That would be fine if he was
I
on
sure
the
hope
main
so.
roster.
Yeah. That's a very nice compliment that Jericho gave him.
Yes, that was one of those.
Hey, I never said the guy wasn't a nice guy.
Right.
I said he sucks.
Stardust versus Neville. The Cody chance for the most heat for any on the show in a while.
I began this report for this match with the following words. Seriously, are you kidding me? Because when you look at this show, again, who wrote this show down on paper and thought, I have a great match to follow the primetime players versus Braun Strowman and Luke Harper? How about Stardust versus Neville? And then they did it. They okayed it, and then they did it.
And in 3 or 4 minutes, Neville was prepped for the Red Arrow when King Barrett came out to distract him. Stardust shoved Neville into a bullhammer for the DQ, and then Barrett goes after Stardust. Stardust says, no, you are the Cosmic King. And then Barrett dropped him with a bullhammer too. Man, it's a good thing Stardust got the Ascension to watch his back.
Yeah, man.
Thank God they did that angle.
Yeah, is that already dead or?
Who knows? Who cares?
I care.
I'll tell you why I don't care.
I'll tell you why I do, but you can go first.
Go ahead.
I care because I have to watch this show and I want it to make some kind of sense.
Right.
I want an inherent logic. Stardust went through all that trouble of getting the Ascension to stand by his side, and then they're just not there with no explanation.
Well, they worked a dark match.
That's not a good answer.
All I know is when King
In fact,
Bear...
it's a worse answer because now I know they were. If you told me
they were in the
hurt,
building.
yeah,
They were in the building.
Yeah.
When King Barrett came back, for an instant, I was excited. Because I hearkened back to when I was a child and somebody made a return. And it usually meant they were going to get a brand new push. And it was going to be a new face. This literally lasted like 5 seconds, and I realized the error of my ways, and that Wade Barrett was not going to do a goddamn thing now that he's back. And he laid them both out, which impressed me, by the way, that he actually got to do something and not get beat up or pinned. He laid them both out, and then he goes, "Give me a microphone." And I was like, oh man, he may say something. Because when a guy talks, you know what I mean?
Sure.
A guy who talks is usually in a higher place in the card than a man who doesn't talk.
Absolutely.
So I thought that Wade Barrett getting a chance to talk was a positive. And he just grabs the mic, and he looks around, and all he says is, "All hail the return of the king." And I was like, it's the same old shit. You're just back to be fucked.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, he got a new face right at SummerSlam, where they called him the Cosmic King, and he got that cool gimmick shoulder pad thing. And they took that away from him, too.
Apparently, it's not the Cosmic King anymore. This is not a four-man
Was
stable.
there a breakup? Did they
Yeah,
fight
Cody
at
beat him
SummerSlam?
up or something.
All right, I forgot.
I did too, but Dave reminded me.
That's fine.
I don't even know if he remembers.
He may just be assuming.
Yeah.
Logic would say
A lot
they
of
broke it up sometime. Kane and Ashley from Human Resources were in the ring for an evaluation because, of course, if you have to do a Human Resources evaluation on an employee with a company, you're going to do it live in the middle of the ring on television in front of, well, a few
After
million people.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Her entire investigation was over in 90 minutes. They didn't
Yes.
even hold it off until the end of the show.
No.
They went for one walk, and a report was done.
I was involved in an HR thing one time, not because of me, but I was actually called in as a eyewitness, basically. And her report took weeks.
Yeah.
And interviews and questions.
Yeah.
And I never heard a ruling, except the guy got fired.
That's not considered a fucking ruling.
Well, they didn't tell me why.
Did you have a clue?
Well, yeah, of course.
You don't
I
have to share secrets.
They
but I mean,
didn't tell you why.
don't tell me you're mystified by this.
I'm just kidding.
They interviewed you about it, but you don't know why.
Oh, I know why.
All right.
Vinny, that better go on the best of 2015 right there.
So
baffling
before they can get very
What did the guy do? It doesn't matter. You're not saying his name. Nobody knows. I want to know what kind of HR incident could occur at a cabinet making factory.
Well, sometimes people, well, gosh, you should know this. Sometimes people that are in authority over others take advantage of that and talk down to them. And
What's he talking about?
Make fun.
Nothing.
And
Don't worry your pretty little head about it.
and then talk to others about people. And when you're in a position of authority, you're not allowed
Behind
to do
their
that.
back?
Behind their back.
No, I don't do that.
That's true.
Yeah, you do it.
I say it right to your face.
You don't do. You don't only do that. For all I know, you're doing that too.
That's true.
What would I possibly say about you behind your back that I wouldn't? Actually, honest to God, when I do talk about you behind your back, it's usually praise.
Huh.
Yeah. I bury you to your face, praise you behind your back.
Wow, that's completely counterproductive. Anyway, the boss man there had a Napoleon complex, if you will, Vince. And
I don't know what that means.
Okay, look it up. Anyway,
He was a great emperor. Okay.
yeah.
So anyway, then what?
All right, that was funny.
Well, the guy got reprimanded and let go of
Wow.
because he was in fact a jerk.
Remember in
How about that?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, they take Napoleon bowling. He's in last place, so he just has that one to a score. And they all look at him like, "What a dick!"
I would never do that.
No, you would not. You're a good bowler. You're a better bowler than Napoleon.
That's true.
Yeah,
And taller.
probably,
Barely.
and alive.
That is also true.
So anyway, Seth interrupts Kane and Ashley from Human Resources. He has a video of Kane being scary and murdering people. And he says, "This is the real Kane, not that imposter in the cheap suit." He says, Ashley from HR
Go ahead, Vinny.
Sorry.
I was trying to get Craig's attention
Okay.
dramatically.
That was the one time a year we needed a webcam. I know what Craig's looking at.
It's like Three Amigos when he's trying to...
What? Bryan is like lighting a signal fire, trying to get Craig's attention.
Yeah.
And Craig's lost in the
I
least
literally was
Marmaduke.
going like this, and somehow Craig didn't see it until Vinny pounded on the desk. Keep going, Vinny. I'll communicate quietly.
All right. So Seth has this video of Kane being scary and murdering people. And he says, that's the real Kane, not the imposter in the cheap suit. He tells Ashley from Human Resources, you need to get rid of Kane or you will be responsible for the carnage that follows. He said Kane had tried to drag him to hell. And Kane was confused and amused by this. Then Seth claimed that he had met with the Pope. And the Pope assured Seth that he was not going to hell, he was going to heaven. And Seth...
Righty-tighty.
Seth told the Pope...
I think we got it.
Seth told the Pope, I feel like I'm already in heaven because I have the championship on my shoulder.
Wow.
I thought that is a fucking awesome line, and it should have been saved for a better segment than this.
There aren't many segments better than this one.
So, Kane says what Seth is doing is all in fun. He has his own video, and it is Seth bad-mouthing Kane for months. And, in fact, burying him. So, finally, Ashley from Human Resources reads her report.
Now, Vinny, I hate to interrupt you for a second here, but I was communicating with Craig, which was why I didn't pay full attention to what you were saying.
Sure.
But I just want you to reiterate to me and the listeners, did this segment not suck?
It was bad. It was really... It was about to get stupid. I don't know. I've seen too many horrible wrestling segments lately.
The verbiage in this segment was so ungodly terrible, even by their own standards.
It didn't... Well, I liked Seth's line about the Pope. I thought that was a great line. It didn't bother me until, to cut to the chase, Ashley did not fire Kane. She did not fire anyone. She reprimanded Seth. Called him petty and paranoid and the single most unprofessional person in the company. And Seth, the whole gimmick is, Seth is afraid of Kane.
Yes.
He's afraid Kane is going to grab him and do horrible, violent things. But he gets so angry they won't fire Kane for the threat of doing horrible, violent things, that he storms into the ring and starts pushing Kane around. What?
This was a bad segment.
I didn't get this at all.
Because it sucked.
So, Seth drops the belt. Kane drops his mic and is being mean Kane. Then he smiles and goes to pick up the belt, but Seth grabs him and hits a pedigree. He spends a few minutes whacking Kane in the leg with a chair. He pillmanizes the ankle. And thinking, okay, it's done. Now they have the heat is on Kane. But there is more. Random geeks came out to make the save. They bring out a gurney, and they're carting Kane backstage as Seth is in the ring running his mouth for a while. They load Kane into an ambulance. They slam the doors shut, and the ambulance takes off, gets about 25 feet, and then slams on the brakes. Seth is oblivious. They cut back to the ambulance. The interior is filled with red light and smoke. And then the doors to the ambulance kick open, and there is Demon Kane, who is now a superhero, and the ambulance is his phone booth. He's still limping badly. He gingerly gets out of the ambulance. For like 2 minutes, he's walking and limping around. Seth is just in the ring.
2 minutes?
More longer than it needed to be. Then Kane stomps his foot, and his limp is gone. So he comes out. Seth conveniently waits for him the whole time. I'm 100% sure that limp or no limp, Seth could outrun Kane. But he stayed in the ring.
He was trapped.
He was trapped in the ring. He went after Kane's leg. Kane no-sold it and killed him. He chokeslammed him, and he went for a tombstone, but Seth escaped and ran away. As noted, Seth can outrun Kane. They proved it here. And then Kane celebrated with a championship belt, and that was that. And WWE has done this 1,000 times, usually with Kane and Taker. TNA used to do it seemingly every week, where you'll have a show where half of it is trying to be real, and then they'll do something supernatural like this, where Kane had a red light and smoke in the ambulance and changed costumes. Maybe he spun around in a circle like Wonder Woman, like Linda Carter.
There is when I watched this, now I don't want to take credit, and I'm not going to take credit because when I watched this and I came up with this idea, I thought this idea was obvious to anybody with a brain. I thought, you know what they need to do on SmackDown? Is Corporate Glenn has to open up the show in a wheelchair. But whenever the Monster Kane comes out, Demon Kane, his leg's fine.
Sure.
Just have this ongoing storyline where Corporate Kane is injured every time he's on screen, and the real Kane is... They're doing it. SmackDown tapings. Corporate Kane is on crutches, but the Demon Kane is perfectly capable of working, fighting, and wrestling. These are the kind of storylines I like. Am I the only one? Blank stares.
I was going to say, you have to commit to this kind of thing for the entire show like Lucha Underground does. If they did something like this on Lucha Underground, it would be awesome.
Or better yet, why don't they just get another tall guy to wear the mask and the wig, and they can be seen together?
Could do that.
Nash?
I really don't. I was going to say, there's
who's are
a
they gonna
short
choose?
supply of human beings who are the same size and shape as Kane.
Well, you can put him in the old school costume
Get
where it's got the long sleeves and everything. You wouldn't even
Festus,
know.
can bring Festus back.
Sure.
He did it before.
Braun Strowman.
Actually, yes.
Or the Vintner.
The Vintner might work.
Yeah. I guess it's not that hard. Never mind.
God, Vinny.
What do I know? Bray Wyatt appeared on the screen for a spooky promo. There were random Halloween sounds in the background, like just groans and stuff, and he was wrestling.
I thought I was losing my mind. So there was something going on
Oh
in
yeah,
the
there
background.
absolutely was here.
Okay. Because it was very, very quiet. So I thought it could have been my cats.
No, there was definitely something sound effects here in the promo. Bo Dallas versus Randy Orton.
Your main man.
Bo,
Yeah.
I didn't have anything terribly.
He was employed here.
He was employed. He didn't do anything new to offend me. They had the Buffalo Bills in the crowd. He told them to Bo leave. And then Orton was sure to beat him out right in front of the Bills. And this is a dead crowd for a lot of the night. But let me tell you something. These big, jacked up goofballs were having fun.
Oh, yeah, they were the only ones.
They were the only ones.
They were literally the only ones in the whole...
There may have been a lot of beer between these giant men.
I know it's funny, Vinny, on Sunday's show, you
I wish for Bo's dismissal.
You called for his firing.
Yes.
And I tried to be a friendly, positive man and say, maybe he just deserves a second chance. Let's not fire the man. Let's give him a second chance. Well, anyway, a wrestler listened to the show and alerted me that, no, he should just be fired.
Who is this?
I can't say the name.
Oh, he's a wrestler.
But they agreed with you.
It was a WWE superstar.
I agreed that he should be fired.
Okay. Well, there's two of us then.
That's sad. Let's give the man a chance.
It's a hard job. Not everyone's cut out for it.
It's hard. Hey, who else is going to take an RKO out of somewhere?
This was, in fact, the RKO out of plain sight.
Yeah.
He beat Bo up, he set up for the move, he hit it, and he won.
I found this to be enjoyable.
That amused me.
And you know what's funny? When he hit the RKO out of somewhere, the place went nuts as he was setting it up, and then he delivered.
Yeah.
What a novel concept. That was the biggest pop on the show.
Probably, yeah.
When he said, let's all get up for the RKO. And they all got up for it. And then he delivered it.
And he gave it to him.
I wonder if Vince was in the back going, man, goddamn. Huh.
I do often think that he must be just very confused by things. Didn't we just say
Yes, I did want this match.
that we were excited to see Rusev versus Kevin Owens?
But they
Still am.
screwed us.
They screwed the fuck out of us. We got Rusev. Technically, we did get it. Technically, Rusev versus Kevin Owens in the Mean Guy match of the year. It went 60 seconds. It was a great 60 seconds. Rusev picked up the big fat fatty, hit a big overhead slam. He's very strong.
As Ryback is calling him a big fat, out of shape fatty.
Yeah. And they go outside and make sure I get this right. Owens throws Rusev into Ryback. Ryback and Rusev start brawling. Then Owens and Rusev double team Ryback to death, and Dolph runs out and chases the heels away. Did I get all that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you blame Kevin? I mean, the guy was sitting there talking crap about him the whole time. I would have tossed a person at him too.
Sure. An angry Bulgarian.
This, in fact, was also shot in reverse. They shot the angle here and then set up the tag match for SmackDown. In reverse order.
Yes.
Well, let's just face it. I still want to see Kevin Owens and Rusev.
Sure. If you took Ryback and Kevin Owens to the Performance Center, and they both had to run that obstacle course,
Oh,
who do you think's making it to the end?
Kevin.
Kevin.
Just want to throw that out there.
Coordination is part of being an athlete. Yes.
How many good?
I'm just talking his cardio.
How many good over 10-minute matches have you seen Ryback in?
Well, he also sucks.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm mostly talking about his cardiovascular conditioning. But yes,
Agreed.
Kevin Owens is a much better worker.
Yeah. Just because you can lift a lot of heavy things doesn't make you a good wrestler.
That is undoubtedly true.
It's been proven over and over again to everyone except Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I've said many times, there is no finer form of entertainment than wrestlers dancing. You can only imagine how much I enjoyed the next segment. It was just the everyone, the current fad is everyone shoot a video of yourself dancing for cancer awareness and then challenge somebody else to dance. So we got Daniel Bryan dancing, the Bellas dancing, PCB dancing. My favorite, Miz doing the river dance. This was tremendous.
Where was Miz? In a cave? At a club?
I think he was at a club, probably a...
It was very dark there.
It was very, very dark there.
Maybe it was an outdoor wedding.
Why couldn't he challenge Maurice?
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
I'd assume Maurice was filming him, actually. I guess. Paul Heyman came out for a promo.
This was so funny.
Okay.
He tried so hard.
Was it funny or sad?
Funny.
Okay.
See, it wasn't... I thought he did a hell of a job. He said Big Show has become complacent. He is bored with the competition in WWE because nobody on this roster can push him to his limits. But Brock Lesnar can.
Clearly, he did not see your win-loss record for the Big Show dating back to Mania.
I don't think facts are Paul Heyman's strong point.
Well,
Hyperbole.
He did a good job of hyperbole here.
Yeah.
He ran a whole company on hyperbole.
He did. He said when the show was pushed to his limits, he was motivated and inspired, and he was truly scary. And yes, that worried him. But it also excited him because that meant Brock would be pushed to his limits.
I couldn't take any of this seriously.
He vowed that Brock would take Big Show to Suplex City. At that point, I was thinking, you know what? This is the only match in the company right now I think I'm looking forward to. Because it's going to be two big, scary dudes.
Two guys now. I heard one other guy who's really looking forward to this.
Well, at this point, I was. And it's going to be two big, scary dudes. And it won't go long, but at the end, one of those big, scary dudes is going to throw that other big, scary dude through the sky a few times and then pin him. It's going to be great.
I appreciate that this company tried so hard to make this seem like an important match, even though it involves the Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they didn't need to. It's Brock Lesnar, and he's going to throw some fucker around.
Yeah.
What do you have to do? They didn't even announce Brock's opponent for the Japan show.
They did not.
And that show did huge numbers on the network. I mean, how much work do you have to do for this? Just say Brock is going to be there, he's going to throw around the Big Show, end of story.
So then Big Show came out.
People don't want to think the Big Show can win. They're perfectly content knowing that Brock is going to beat the shit out of him.
Yes. The appeal of Brock is a squash match. They're selling a squash match.
Yes.
So Show came out and he's upset. Heyman called it complacent. He said, I know Brock's upset about getting this fight, and I noticed you are not promoting the rest of Brock Lesnar's tour, and that's because you know I'm going to kill him. This went on for a while, and Heyman was scared, and he left, and Show said, I'm going to punch Brock, and like one person shouted, Brock's better than you. Which is true.
Probably a Bill.
Pardon? Oh,
Buffalo
one of the Bills?
Bill.
I see, yeah.
No one else was
I thought you
talking.
meant Craig's friend Bill.
I'm sure he did too, actually. I know Bill.
Yes.
I guarantee he yelled that
So,
during the middle of this show.
If they had just let Heyman come out and beat Paul Heyman, this would have been awesome. But Big Show actually, he killed my interest in this. Because I don't want to watch Big Show have a slow, boring, methodical 15-minute match with Brock Lesnar. I want him to go 3 minutes of fun action. I want Brock to throw him around 3 or 4 times and pin him.
That's what's going to happen.
So that was that.
I love when Big Show said that Paul was going to have to consider a future without Brock Lesnar. And Paul stood in the aisle, and he looked woefully at the ring like, maybe he's right. I was like, come on, dude.
I like when Show kept calling him Paulie.
Paulie.
Yeah. Not Paul E. Paulie.